Based on a true story from 1971, this story centers on a man named Terry. He runs a small business buying and selling used cars, but in recent months his finances have taken a serious hit. The business can no longer cover its operating costs, forcing Terry to borrow money from loan sharks just to stay afloat. One afternoon, two debt collectors show up at his office. With Terry unable to repay what he owes, they start wrecking several cars as a warning.
What are you trying to do to me, eh?
Right in the middle of this tense confrontation, an old acquaintance named Martine suddenly appears. Without wasting time, she offers Terry a job that promises a massive payoff. Later that night, the two continue talking things through at a restaurant, and the idea begins to take shape. Meanwhile, attention shifts to the upper ranks of British intelligence, better known as MI6. They are closely monitoring a dangerous criminal named Malik. Originally from the United States, Malik has expanded his operations into England, ruthlessly pushing aside white business owners across the city. Behind the scenes, he has been linked to multiple murders and the smuggling of hundreds of kilograms of drugs. Despite all this, law enforcement cannot touch him. Malik is protected by members of the Royal Circle. That protection comes from a dark secret. During a private holiday on a remote island, Malik managed to secretly photograph several British royals engaged in affairs. Those incriminating photos are believed to be locked away in a bank deposit box. A young MI6 agent named Tim proposes a bold solution. He plans to have the bank robbed to recover the photos. The mission is highly classified, and the agency does not care what collateral damage follows, as long as those images are secured. Weeks before meeting Terry, Martine herself had been detained at an airport after drugs were discovered in her suitcase. She was released only because of Tim's intervention. How the two originally connected remains unclear, but the deal is simple. In exchange for her freedom, Martine must convince Terry to rob the bank where the photos are stored. Terry is no stranger to crime. He was once a robber, though he has never hit a bank before. Desperate for money and knowing that the bank's security systems are currently under maintenance, the offer becomes hard to ignore. He agrees to consider it. Later that night, as Terry prepares to leave, he realizes he has forgotten something and turns back. That is when he notices Martine meeting someone else immediately after seeing him. From that moment on, Terry begins to suspect that there is far more going on than she is letting on. That suspicion changes everything. This is the bank job. The next day, during one of his employees' wedding celebrations, Terry takes a moment to meet with his old crew. After a long discussion, they finally agree to go through with the robbery. Around this time, it also becomes clear that Terry is a family man. He is married and has two young daughters. Before his current marriage, he once had a quiet relationship with Martine, which explains why, despite her suspicious behavior, Terry still chooses to move forward with the plan. The following day, Terry and Martine visit the bank they are targeting, Lloyd's Bank. Since Martine has a deposit box there, Terry is able to enter with her and quietly survey the surroundings. Meanwhile, two members of the crew are assigned to observe and document the area outside. By pure coincidence, they notice a shop nearby that is available for rent. What makes it even more interesting is that the shop is located just a few meters from the bank. That is when Terry comes up with a brilliant idea. He suggests robbing Lloyd's Bank through an underground tunnel. Terry happens to know a man named Bambus, a construction specialist who works in underground excavation. Although the digging distance will not be very long, Bambus explains that they will still need a lot of specialized equipment. To strengthen their cover, Terry also contacts another old associate named Singer. Singer will pose as the owner of the business renting the shop, operating under the name Gas and Power. Before the plan officially begins, Terry, trying to be a responsible husband, tells his wife that he will be involved in some criminal activity over the next few days. He does not mention that it involves robbing a bank. At the same time, Martine secretly leaks every detail of the robbery plan to Tim. As a result, from the very start, Tim assigns two agents to monitor the crew's movements from a distance. The digging finally begins. To reach the basement of Lloyd's Bank, they estimate it will take at least 2 days. Everything has been carefully calculated. If they stay on schedule, they will enter the bank on a public holiday, giving them plenty of time to empty the deposit boxes. The problem is that the heavy equipment causes vibrations strong enough to reach neighboring buildings, briefly drawing police attention. Fortunately, the police never inspect the shop's basement. No one even suspects that an underground tunnel is being dug. Still, the incident makes the crew realize how important external surveillance is. Terry assigns his employee Eddie to keep watch. Conveniently, there is a hotel directly across the street from the bank. The next day, Tim stops by the shop, curious to see whether everything is going according to plan. That night, he asks Martine to meet him again at a bar. In the middle of their meeting, Terry suddenly shows up. From the very beginning, Terry has been wary of Martine's behavior, but he does not want the plan to fall apart. To stay one step ahead, he quietly makes a small change to the operation, setting the stage for what is about to unfold next. Before long, the digging continues, this time working down from the roof of the rented building. Eddie keeps reporting the situation outside through a walkie-talkie. Unfortunately, their transmissions are intercepted by a government operator whose job is to monitor citywide communications. He immediately alerts the police about what he has discovered. At the same moment, while focused on the excavation, Terry suddenly falls through the ground. Below them, they uncover an ancient tunnel that has been there for centuries. Inside, they find old human remains. This unexpected discovery speeds everything up, since they no longer need to dig as far. After recalculating the bank's position, they become confident that they are directly beneath the vault and ready to break through. Because the vault floor is reinforced with steel, the crew uses specialized tools to cut through it. Instead of rushing to open the deposit boxes, Terry orders everyone to take a short break. The space is filled with thick smoke from the cutting process, and he does not want to risk anyone's safety. Martine grows impatient, eager to grab the photos Tim wants. That night, while the others are asleep, she quietly sneaks back into the tunnel on her own. From the start, Terry expects his former lover to pull something like this. Even after catching her in the act, he pretends not to notice and keeps things calm. Meanwhile, the police finally act on the intercepted radio transmissions. The problem is that there are many banks in the city, and they have no idea which one is being targeted. To make matters worse, the robbery is scheduled on a public holiday. When morning arrives, the operation begins. Terry and his crew break into every deposit box while the police spread out, trying to determine which bank is under attack. Inside the boxes are all kinds of valuables, including diamonds, expensive wine, and more. Altogether, the haul is worth around $3 million or even more. Considering this happened in 1971, the amount is absolutely massive. From the beginning, Martine has her eye on deposit box number 118, and Terry knows it. The moment the box is opened, Terry secures everything inside before she can touch it. That is when he realizes the contents are far more serious than money. Inside are photos exposing affairs involving members of the British royal family. Not long after, the police arrive at Lloyd's Bank. The bank manager allows them inside to inspect the premises. Eddie quickly warns the crew. Thankfully, no one suspects that the thieves entered through an underground tunnel. When the manager sees that the vault door is still intact, he assumes nothing has been disturbed. Unable to identify which bank was robbed, the police change their strategy. They quietly position an ambulance in front of each bank. If Eddie reports seeing an ambulance, the police will immediately know the crew's location. Fortunately, before that can happen, Eddie's radio falls from a height and is rendered useless. Elsewhere, as Terry and his crew successfully escape with the stolen goods, MI6 agents attempt to intercept them on the road. This is where Terry's sharp instincts truly show. He had anticipated this move from the very beginning, which is why he arranged for someone else to drive his getaway car. The sudden change in plan leaves Martine shaken, worried that Tim will see her as a traitor. Back at MI6, senior officials grow furious when they realize the operation has completely failed. At the same time, Terry moves quickly to divide the loot. Each member of the crew receives a bag filled with cash and jewelry. Among the valuables, they also discover more photographs. These images reveal high-ranking government officials involved in secret affairs. It turns out the city has a hidden club that serves as a private playground for powerful figures. For years, the owner has secretly recorded his clients, keeping photos and videos as leverage in case he ever faced legal trouble. Not long after, Bombas and Singer leave first. Each of them flees the city to start a new life. Once only the core group remains, Terry finally exposes Martine's betrayal. He shows the others how they have been manipulated from the start. With no way out, Martine comes clean. She insists that Tim only wanted the photographs and never planned to arrest them for the robbery. Terry is not convinced. He believes Martine was set up by Tim from the beginning. Drugs do not simply appear in someone's suitcase at the exact moment an intelligence agent needs help robbing a bank. Realizing she has been used, Martine ultimately switches sides and aligns herself with Terry. Together, they begin planning their next move, looking for a way to use the secret photographs as a leverage to escape the crimes they have committed. Meanwhile, the robbery sends shockwaves across the city. The stolen deposit boxes contain priceless valuables and potentially sensitive documents. To prevent the police from uncovering what was taken, the case is immediately handed over to the National Intelligence Agency. The situation escalates further when a businessman named LaFogel discovers that one of his most important possessions is missing. Among the stolen items is a notebook detailing every corrupt police officer he has bribed in the city. If those records are exposed, all of them could face prison. Later that day, Terry meets Tim at an underground train station, just as planned. Tim initially underestimates Terry, arriving with two of his men as backup. Terry makes it clear that if anything goes wrong, every photo they recovered will be sent straight to the press. In return, if MI6 wants the photographs, Terry demands full protection for himself and his team, including new passports and written guarantees clearing them of all charges. A senior MI6 official is stunned when he sees the photographs in Terry's possession. The problem is that he himself has visited the same secret club, which means Terry also holds evidence against him. With no other choice, MI6 agrees to every one of Terry's demands. After digging through leads from every direction, LaFogle eventually tracks down one of Terry's associates, a man named Dave. The day before the robbery, Dave had crossed paths with LaFogle while visiting the bank, which makes him an easy target. Without hesitation, Dave is seized and subjected to a brutal interrogation. Corrupt police officers working for LaFogle then storm Terry's used car lot. When they fail to find Terry, they take Eddie hostage instead. At the same time, in an effort to identify the criminals, the authorities broadcast a recording of Terry's voice from the robbery over the radio. Terry's wife is stunned when she realizes her husband has become a national fugitive. Eddie's wife, who also works at Terry's shop, reports what has happened to her husband. This only adds to Terry's confusion. He cannot understand why someone else is hunting them when MI6 supposedly agreed to a deal. Determined to save Eddie, Terry calls the number LaFogle left behind. Once again, he is thrown off by LaFogle's obsession with a mysterious notebook. When Terry fails to answer the questions correctly, Dave is executed. Realizing how serious the situation has become, Terry rushes back to the getaway car from the robbery to search for the missing book. As soon as he reads its contents, he comes up with a bold plan to save his friend. Terry uses the notebook as leverage, threatening LaFogle and demanding Eddie's release at exactly 11 o'clock the next day. Later that same day, Terry meets Tim again to hand over the passport photos needed for their new identities. He also reminds Tim to meet him at the train station the following day at 11. It is unclear what Terry is planning or why he schedules both meetings for the exact same time. A lot happens over the next day or two. Bambus and Singer are killed by hired assassins, though it is never clear whether they were sent by the government or by wealthy figures furious over the robbery. At the same time, Tim secretly sends a female agent to Malik's residence to confirm whether any copies of the incriminating photos exist. Her cover is exposed, and she is killed.
What you doing?
Oh, hello, Michael.
That night, Terry carefully prepares his strategy for the next day. His plan involves a trusted associate named Kevin approaching an honest police officer named Roy. Coincidentally, Roy is also the officer assigned to the Lloyd's Bank robbery case. Kevin's task is to offer Roy the names of corrupt officers taken from LaFogle's notebook. The following day, the plan goes into motion. Terry and Martine head toward the train station for the scheduled meeting. Tim is already waiting, and as agreed, the documents Terry demanded are set to be delivered by a government official. At the same time, LaFogle arrives at the station with his corrupt officers. Terry is attempting to pit LaFogle against the intelligence agents. However, the corrupt officer accompanying LaFogle sees through the scheme almost immediately. Without wasting time, they flee the area before the trap can close. As soon as Terry receives the documents he was promised, he immediately goes after LaFogle, who is trying to escape. Seeing the man responsible for his friend's death fills Terry with rage. Without hesitation, he takes down everyone in his way, including the corrupt officer who nearly killed him. Moments later, additional police units arrive at the scene. They turn out to be officers working under Roy, the honest cop. At first, everyone is detained, but MI6 agents soon step in and explain the full truth of what happened. With that, Terry is finally released. He is even seen as a hero for exposing deep corruption within the police force. Tim cannot help but admire Terry's intelligence. Against all odds, Terry manages to navigate an incredibly complex situation and come out on top. Because of this, he is offered a position within the intelligence agency, but he turns it down without hesitation. Sometime later, MI6 finally moves in to arrest Malik at his hideout, where he is found relaxing. Tragically, when the agents arrive, the operative Tim had sent in earlier is already dead, reduced to nothing but bones. Terry, Kevin, and Martine go on to become wealthy. They do not even need to flee the city as the government wipes away their past crimes. As a reward for his role in the robbery, Terry hands over his entire business to Eddie. At one point, Martine quietly suggests that she and Terry run away together and revive their old romance. Terry refuses, choosing to leave the past behind. In the closing moments, several striking facts about the case are revealed. Many high-ranking officials resign after their explicit photos are exposed to the public. 4 years later, Michael X, also known as Malik, is executed for the murder of an MI6 agent. LeFogel receives an 8-year prison sentence for bribery, and the robbery carried out by Terry is ultimately labeled the largest bank heist in British history. So the moral of the story is never trust anyone who says it's just a small job, because that is how you accidentally rob a bank and ruin powerful people's lives.